Hi everyone, welcome back to the Velvet Lounge Life. Do not fall off of your seats. Yes, this is a brand new video. It's the end of April 2025 and I'm live. I hope that you guys are doing well. As you can see, this is a button video. I have tens of thousands of buttons that I needed to sort through. And I actually have been sorting through them. And while I was doing that, I was like, why am I not making a video of my process? Because people have asked me more times than I can even remember in the past, how do you sort your sort your buttons and decide which to keep, which to use for art projects, which to give away, etc. And I have referenced this topic in a past video, but I thought it was time to kind of update it. I actually go through my buttons much faster than I used to. I have an idea of what I'm keeping for my collection, or what I call our, how can I say this? Sort of like our historical collection, I guess. And as well as those that I would definitely use, forgive me for saying this, but for art projects. Now, when I say art projects, that doesn't mean that the buttons will necessarily be destroyed. In some cases, they absolutely will not be destroyed. In some cases, yes, I might actually remove the shank off the back and file it down or sand it down to make it flat. And yes, glue might come into play, or some other type of attachment situation. So, there's a whole lot of reasons why I use them for art items and how I use them. But I will tell you, if they're something of, I guess I'll say, greater significance, I would not do that unless I had a ridiculous number of them. That could still happen, but never say never, because you never know. But if I only have a couple, no, I would never do that. So as you can see, I have buttons on cards. I have the big salesman sample cards here, but underneath the Velvet Lounge Light postcard going deep down into this tote. There are some that are on the cards, like when you purchase them from a craft store or a sewing store, that type of thing. And can we all have a moment of silence for Joann's? We will miss that store. I never purchase buttons from there, but I would go there to get my glues and brushes. Sometimes I pick up some material. Those are usually the things that we picked up if we saw like something, our daughter saw something that was Christmas or Halloween that she liked. Of course, she would get something like that. But and my husband, he always loved to go in there and just poke around in their area where they had things that were kits, like car kits and stuff like that. So it was definitely a family favorite. But in this box, or in this giant tote, my husband said that it has to weigh about 70 some odd pounds, if not more. It is heavy. It is laden. And this isn't all of it. So these are things I haven't sorted through that I want to, like I said, pick out what I'm keeping. Then the question is going to come as to what will I do with the rest of the buttons. We'll talk about that later. Get your tea, as you know how we talk about it on this channel, your favorite beverage that will keep you alert, and or a snack if necessary. Come back and let's take a look at what we have. And remember, when you're watching these videos, you can also cast them on your television. You can watch them on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, whatever it is you need to do so you can see the details better. So when I'm doing my initial sort, and so I will tell you this, I have to prerequisite everything, or just give you guys a precursor. I promise I am not going to go through this tonnage that I have here in one sitting. This will happen over, I'm going to say probably 3 or 4 videos. So I am starting today, and as a matter of fact, I already started sorting. I'll take this out. Someone sent me a gift, which has buttons in it. Thank you to this young lady. Much appreciated. She's from New Jersey, which is amazing. But here are some of the buttons that have already been sorted out that I'm keeping for a variety of reasons. Some like that is a terrier, the white one in the corner, a little terrier doggy or Scotty dog turned upside down, but there you go. So you can see I started, and actually some of them I already put away. And I was like, what is wrong with you? And someone sent me these buttons, and that person is from New York, upstate New York. Thank you so much. She actually saw these on Temu, and she was like, oh my God, these are the perfect buttons for your hunting jacket. I have a hunting jacket, which is a very proper English style jacket. And so it's not camouflage or anything like that. It almost, today in today's world, it looks like you're wearing a business jacket almost. But I am going to replace the buttons with these, and there's another set of these on the way. So I have enough to do the cuffs and the pockets, because this is enough for it to go down the middle or the chest of the jacket, but that's not enough to finish. Like I said, there's like 2 pockets on the front and the cuffs. So thank you so much. Greatly appreciate you. And these 2 people wanted to remain nameless, so I respect that. And once again, thank you so much. So when I do my initial sort, I simply start with a empty box. Like, this is what you would keep beverages. You can see the little circles in it. My hands are going to look dry. My nails are probably going to get dirty from doing this because these are raw buttons. They have not been cleaned in any type of way. So please forgive that initially. And I simply take whatever they came in and dump them out. And just kind of go through and decide what I'm going to keep. Like I said, I do this, and look, these are Waterberry Button Company buttons. You could see the W. That's an indication that you have a Waterbury Button Company button. And I am in Connecticut, and that's where these buttons came from, as well as New York, Massachusetts, and there's some in here from New Jersey and Alabama. So, but the majority of them did come from Connecticut. So this one, it actually has words on it in Latin. So these I'm going to put to the side so I can research them a little bit. And I know I do not have these in my Waterberry Button Company collection. If you guys look at my videos, go to the playlist and find buttons for this channel, and you will find well over or about 100 videos on the topic of buttons. But for Waterberry Button Company, I also created a separate playlist for that. So go take a look at that as well. And with the cost of metals being what they are, these buttons have all gone up in value. And as a matter of fact, they will go up further in value due to the tariffs. Notice my pause there on purpose, that are being put on countries for whatever reasons. So just something to be aware of, because these are made of brass, but they also used other semi-precious metals to make their buttons. And those are made right in Waterbury, Connecticut. So I will just go through and take all of these out. They're easy to see because they're huge. These are probably the size of an American quarter or 25-cent piece. There you go. So I'll put all those in there. And when I put them in this is my keep box. So when I put them in my keep box, oops, I don't want you to see the address on that. Let me take that out of there. When I put them in my keep box, I just dump them in there. Right now, there's another step where I'll go into sorting these things out into the Ferrero Rocher candy trays that I store my buttons in, and a couple special displays I have for them. So these I know that I'm not keeping. These are leather buttons, and actually for the hunting jacket, these would be perfect, but I prefer the rabbits with the faux tortoise shell in the back as the mount. But let's take a look at these. Let me take a look at this button. And this is not going to be a fancy, overdone video. You know, I think I'm going to put these to the side as well. There's a lot of them. Oh, I missed a couple of the others. I am definitely, like, there are so many of these, it's wild. I am definitely not keeping all of these, but I might keep some of them, and I have to research to see if they're Waterbury Button Company buttons, because if so, obviously, I will add some to my collection. So, keepers. And the ones that I don't keep, what I do with those is I separate them into, you know, by the material that they're made from. So here is a little interesting one. I know that I have something like this in my collection somewhere already. And these are like 1930, 1940 circa in style, but I am not keeping any of them because they just don't fit what I do. This one is incredibly interesting. I just pulled that out. It looks like a military helmet from World War I, or maybe I would say World War I more than World War II. So I'm going to check this one out a little bit more. So does it have wording on it? It has two lions, and in the center it has really tiny wording. So I will have to use a loop to see what that says. So then I'm done. Like, this sort is finished because the only buttons left in here are these. So I will just take these and sort them quickly, as I stated, by material into other receptacles that I already have set up. And at the end, I guess I'll show you guys, you know, what these other receptacles have in them. So I have one, this is like the third one for all metal buttons are in here. So I'll take all of the metals and dump them in there. I have one for buttons that are made out of material. These are leather, so these will go in there with the other leathers and materials. I have one that's separated for big beauties. The list goes on and on. Okay, let's give you something to look at while I tidy up and get these things put away. And I do a thing where I call it the, there. Just one moment. All right, I just want to make sure I have room to work over here on the side as well. But I do this thing where it's the no regret. Once I look at it, either I'm keeping it or I'm not keeping it. I drop it wherever it's going to go, and that's where it stays. These are the buttons that have the little, I don't know what to call these, prongs, I guess, on the back. And they stick through the clothing, and then the person opens them up on the back. And that's how the button is attached. So this looks like an American military button. It has a tiny bit of verdigris on it. Let me see if I can get that off. take off my little tool, see how bad, oh, okay, that's nothing. So it was just a piece of green sitting there. This one I will keep. I do have a collection of military buttons from, I believe, every branch of the military for sure. So what should I do? Should I pour these out or should I leave them in here? I'll pour them out. I have no idea, like I said, when I'm pouring this stuff out also, like what's in the tin. I have no clue until I pour this stuff out. So let's see. This just helps me to know where the center is when I'm filming this card. So that's why I move. Ooh, look at this with the black and white. This might be a Colt firearm button or Colt rock button. So this one I'm going to keep and look up. I recognize that pattern. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. So something like this I will not keep. Let's see, I want to quickly sort here. And these buttons are dirty. Like I said, like this one just needs to be wiped off and cleaned. I'm not going to do that at this point, but this one is a vegetable ivory button. And it's made from what they call the Tagawa nut. And I did an entire video on that subject. And look at these. Is this a flash from the past? This is total 1950s vibe. It probably came from a lady's coat. And this one I am definitely keeping. It's maybe even early, I would say maybe early 1960s as well, because it has a little bit of that atomic look to it. So that one we will keep because I know I have a coat or something where I'd want to replace it with that button. Or I have, okay, you guys, it's me. I have capes and I have, I think, 2 cloaks. So I like to change out the big, giant, bold button that's at the throat. And sometimes that one, I wish that this button was larger, because if this was like 4 times the size or maybe even 3 times the size, I would definitely switch out one of the buttons. Like this would be one of my switch out buttons. And when I say switch out, I keep the other button or buttons. There's numerous of them. I actually have a drawer in my jewelry chest, which is like a piece of furniture that's dedicated to incredibly decorative, my better best buttons, where I will, sew and unsew them on and off of garments, because it also gives your garment a different look without you buying a new garment. This is a giant wooden button. So this one I'm not keeping. I don't have wooden buttons in my collection. And look at these mid-century modern brutalist buttons. That's what style this is. So mid-century modern, very industrial, very chunky, very rough, but bold and in your face. Like when you see mid-century modern brutalist, because in the mid-century modern era, there was your mid-century modern kitsch, your what we would consider to be like the modern art type of mid-century modern, the brutalist. And so it wasn't just like that term wasn't just used for one particular style, but these are mid-century modern brutalist. I'm thinking that these are probably 1970s, and these have some weight to them. I almost feel like putting them on the scale and weighing them, because they're so heavy, and they have a really nice shank on the back, like that charm string, charm button type shank. And that's actually my favorite shank. And I also like the shanks that kind of disappear into the button, so it lays completely flat. These, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep. So what I do is put them in my keep box, and then at least they're not in the definitely going away boxes. This looks like a marble. It's made out of lucite. So you have this lucite button. No, this is not Bakelite. I have, and please take a look at the community page, or I think it's now called Post or something. It's no longer called the community page, but the post section of this YouTube channel, which is my channel, the Velvet Lounge Life, and you'll see an excellent quick write-up that was done about Bakelite buttons, because there are people who believe that only solid colors are Bakelite. Some believe only buttons with the swirls in it are Bakelite. Both of those statements are completely incorrect. Bakelite had swirls. It depends upon the style that the craftsperson was creating, or the manufacturer. And early Bakelite, yes, more swirls because they were not perfect. And it was more of a, let's quickly make this and get it out the door. And then later on, when they found that people loved Bakelite, they started purifying the colors. So you could get a solid red, a solid green, a solid yellow, etc. But this is definitely not Bakelite. This one is lucite. And I am going to consider whether to keep this one based upon this verdigris, if I can quickly and easily get it off, which I can. And what I do is, before I put the buttons in with my keepers, I try to get all the green verdigris off of the button, because verdigris can cause your buttons to have a disease, whereas every metal button that you have, it does not affect any of the plastics. Shells can be infected as well, because they start deteriorating, and a little bit of discoloration can happen, especially if there's any metal like attached to the button. But for plastics, it's more of a wipe off, clean off. But if it's on here and I put it in here with my metal buttons, they can get infected as well. So this one, as you can see, after I clean it up, and obviously it needs more cleaning than this, it's such a cool bit of kit. I love it. This one I am not keeping. To me, this is a more common button. Once again, probably used on a coat. Toss it. I'm actually tossing the buttons to the right of me into their respective new homes. So there's a bunch of plastics in here. This actually is some sort of weird, I don't know what this is. Like what material this is. One thing, this definitely is disgustingly dirty. This might be butterscotch Bakelite, but it's just super filthy. But I'm probably not keeping them either. They have the small version and the large version. So I'm going to actually just put these right in with the plastics. I have a giant bunch of plastic buttons, and what I do with those is they all live together. I don't care what they're made out of. They all live together. And wow, we are going to talk about this button. So I'm not keeping those. So this is a carved vegetable ivory button that has been dyed brown on the top. And then they wiped it off a little bit to reveal a little bit of its natural look and form. This is really gorgeous. If you guys could see this up close and personal, hopefully I'm doing it justice here. Here, there you go. That might be better. It's so pretty. They did a lot of like, almost like poker work, but you could tell it's carved out so intricate. And then there's like a flower design here in the center. But this is what the back of it looks like. Because when they would carve these out of the vegetable ivory, which is tagawa nut, obviously it has all sorts of components to it. So whatever the natural flecking or striations are, they are what they are. I'm not keeping that one. This one I am keeping, because come on, look at her. She's lucite, and she's also gleaming and glistening with rhinestones. And I'm trying to do a quick, okay, there is one rhinestone that's missing, but the good thing is these are your standard round cut rhinestones, so I can replace that. So that one I will keep. Let's look at this cluster. So here we have a cluster of buttons, and on the back you could see that little bit of like plastic lucite is attached to the front. These remind me of the what I call 5 and dime buttons, which Woolworths, McCory's, Zayre's, like those type of less expensive but quality in some cases. And we also had a Railroad Salvage, which was a company that purchased anything that was left over in railroad cars. Now everything is coming across, not everything, but a lot of the merchandise comes across from overseas and on ships. But when America was making things, they would make buttons. Most buttons you would find, like when I was a child and even older than that, obviously, were made in the United States. What they would do is they would, you know, have a dude come in. Usually, yes, it was a dude. It was a sexist time. And they would show them their book, and it would have all the salesman samples. And this is what this type of button reminds me of. I don't have... Orange is a really hard color to find in buttons, you guys. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I am going to put this in my I am not going to keep them pile, simply because right now I can't think of a reason why I should keep them other than they are a rare color and hard to find. And then here are some more orange buttons. And guess what? These remind me of the same